Good morning, friends. Good morning, loyal audience. Good morning. Fix the mustache first. Back in the Muslim world, mustache are very important. So good morning. Welcome to my ad hoc ranting program, TV, a video show on the internet. Today's subject is very simple. The current state in Europe. I know. I have seen it myself. The views on my videos being deducted or being like lowered. The number of views was lowered right before my eyes. I don't know why would anyone do that, but guess what? I don't care if the Netanyahus click a million buttons. I will say what I'm gonna say, and those who I intend for this video and other videos to be heard will hear. Here's what I learned from my religion of Sunni Islam. If you're afraid of the truth, you will try to erase it. If you're afraid of the truth, you will try to erase it. If you're not afraid of the truth and have done something wrong, then you will own up to it. And then stand up and then own up to it and then make amends, right? Accidents are accidents. Intentions, they are not accidents. Anyways, what's going on? There was something that I'm going to tell you about the plan first. There was something that's going on, right? So if now is a figment of Stalini's and Netanyahu's imagination of rolling in and taking over Europe 1 week at a time, right? Actually, they had been ready, whether it is the German government or whoever government, they were ready. Not all of them, I would say. But I'm gonna divulge some real knowledge to you here. If, for example, if Stalin took over Ukraine in 1 week, then you will see that Belarus, that fake parliament, fake president, those puppets, I think the best thing these guys did, those puppets of Stalin, the lizard eye cabal of Moscow, is like march in formation. You know how Russian soldiers in front of the Kremlins, when they marched, they raise their legs like very high, like up to the navel, and then their hands are up like that, and they sing. I always found that like a little bit interesting. How they march, and they have like this rifle on the back, and they raise their hand up, and their legs rise all the way up, like near their chest, right? But nonetheless, that's all these guys have done. The other thing, they know how to be a dog and a donkey, and for Pustalinins, that cabal. That's all they can do. That's all they know how to do. But nonetheless, they will have voted a setup, like a rubber stamp vote to join Russia as this bullshit Russian Federation, a part of this Russian Federation. So you will have seen that happen on both, actually, Belarus as well as you will not have seen that happen, but that's the plan, to make it Belarus and Ukraine, to make it as such, right? And then Poland was gonna come in, right? And then be part of, the plan was for them to come in and be part of that game as well. I don't know about Finland. Mr. Shauli, the president, seems to be like pretty close relative and friend of Stalin, of the Orang, right? So it would be a little bit difficult situation for Shauli. Reason being is the Finnish people don't like communism. They've been under its rule last century and they suffered hell. Life under communism, folks, basically knocks out your intelligence, disables your intelligence as a human being, it kills your progress as a human being, takes away your freedom. I kid you not, folks. It makes you live like an animal in a cage that is controlled by Stalin. I don't believe listening to them, whether it's their communist literature, whether it's Talmud or whatever it is. They don't hide that. They tell you that's what you're going to become, and they're so brazen about it that they tell you that's how you're going to become. They will try, of course. Human spirit can never be conquered. So now that said, I know um, pomegranate juice. Oh man, sour and tasty. Followed This is going to be followed by some smoothie in the other cup, and then coffee. Uh, that said, the idea for Spain, that's what I know now. The idea for Spain was to remain on its own because it's already ruled by Netanyahu's, right? And the Ayatollahs, that cabal of Netanyahu. The Ayatollahs and the Pustalinians, and that big octopus, like with tripod, those big like tripod of China, of Iran, of Russia, and then there are smaller tentacles like Sisi of Egypt and Abdul of Jordan, Abdul of Jordan, right? Oh yeah, King. Sorry about that. He's a Jew, by the way. And then the donkey of Damascus, and well, he's not Damascene. He's like from originally those whom they call Assads. They're really donkeys, right? Their last name is the Beast, not Assad, which means lion, right? And they're from unknown origin, but they come from the east, either from Iraq or from Isfahan. And they're family that belongs to similar to Kamini or Khomeini. They belong to Netanyahu's, Netanyahu's. And then, of course, you got like other tentacles, smaller tentacles that are transitory, meaning they're preparing for this 100% control, similar to your Rabbi Obama and Biden and Trump and you name it. Anyways, this is not the point. The point is this: I think they will maintain France as it is because it's already under under duress, under rule, tight and so on in a cage, under those few presidents, right? And Spain and Italy, I think, will remain as is, because that's already cooked. You don't mix. If you have like different pots cooking different recipes in it, these are already cooked. So take for example, during that time when Catalonia tried to secede from Spain or have some kind of a, like union, like federal union or something like that, they came against it with all they've got. And the prime minister then, I don't know if he's still now, is Rajoy, and his helper Soraya. These two are straightforward. Whatever it to the full, like until the cork. They're Israelis, right? In fact, Rajoy is an Iranian name. It is called Rajawi. Rajawi, similar to Masoud Rajawi, the leader of supposed opposition of the Iranian regime. I don't know. Maybe he is. Maybe it's just the same name. But that Rajawi of Spain, or Rajoy of Spain, is definitely from an Iranian Netanyahu origin, right? So that's cooked already. That's like all these are cooked. So the first thing, the Soviet Union will be reclaimed. That's what it is. And those other countries will remain independent, except, and that's the tragedy here, except the Germanics and the Scandinavians. They have a final solution for you guys. Remember the final solution? That unknown, mysterious final solution done by a Hitler, a brother of Lavrov, a brother of Pustalini, a brother of Lenin, a brother of Stalin, right? A brother of Netanyahu. That motto in itself is bone chilling, folks. What was coming your way is bone chilling. How do I prove that? Notice. First of all, they started calling the Ukrainians Nazis. At the same time, their tanks carried a communist flag, meaningly they're going back to World War One and World War Two. Believe me, folks. If you're a German, Germanic, or if you're a Scandinavian, that includes Dutch, that includes Austrian, that includes Belgium, that includes Benelux, that includes so on. And if you're Scandinavian, believe me, folks, you can clearly see the outline of a horrible creature moving toward you, and that creature is going to put you. That creature is going to put you into a mold. Will mold you. Like similar to squeezing a lemon. Like in a squeezer or something like that. In the last century, they made they keep making mistakes, right? And I'm telling you, it's not gonna happen. But the scenario is that's the plan. That's what I'm trying to explain here. Now the plan will not happen, but if you sit down on the sidewalks, right, or a platform, watching the Russian military march into your country as if you're watching a military parade, then they're gonna march in. How is it you don't see that? You may think now your establishments in Europe are helping. Oh, they're helping them. This is not just like a marching parade that was supposed to be received like by all these leaders, like the Trumps and the Bidens and the Scholz and and Macron and so on. All these leaders who are lining up, waiting for Russia to come in, and they're cheering them up. And not just that, they're funding that military move. They're funding that regime in that regime of the Lizard Eye Cabal in Moscow. They're funding them. They're helping them. They're trying to pressure Ukraine into caving in, and so on and so forth. Folks, this strategy has been in the works for so many years. When Russia agreed with Ukraine to take the nuclear weapons with guarantees of security guarantees of their territorial integrity, and you may say, oh, look, they violated it. No, folks, they did that because they knew they were going to come into Ukraine, and they didn't want to come into Ukraine armed with nuclear weapons. That's all there is to it, folks. You better believe it. The plan of invading Western Europe is old. It's not new. It's being developed over a few decades by now. What happened in the last century allowed, and that's the destruction of the Soviet Union by the Muslims, or I mean Sunnis, right? Not Al-Qaeda or ISIS or anybody else. No. Don't get it wrong. It was Afghans and Middle Easterns, just plain Sunnis, Salafis and so on. They just went there and did what they did to the Soviet Union, right? And that gave reprieve to the world. When the Soviet Union fell, the northern part of this earth breathed the sigh of relief. Europe, the modern day Russians and so on, and the stands and why? Because now this morbid creature from hell, communism, is no longer pressuring them into when communism came over to their country, and especially after World War II, the death of the human psyche and the death of the individual was slowly being implemented. And people were basically getting demented day by day, generation by generation. And had not the Soviet Union collapsed in Afghanistan, was destroyed in Afghanistan, people now under the Soviet Union will have been something similar to animals, folks, believe me. Now you see them, how they come into Ukraine and loot. They loot, and they loot. They shoot down a passenger airplane called Malaysia Airline MH something, right? And they start looting the wreckage, pulling jewelry and wallets from the victims whom they shot down from the air, right? The civilian jet line. That's the kind, and yet even these Russians were spared by the failure of the Soviet Union, because now the establishment and that cabal in Moscow needed to stay in power, so they kind of relax their rule a little bit. Not for long, folks, but the fact of the matter is that some of them are carrying the communist flag and coming into you and calling you Nazi, should hearken in you the horrors of World War II in the last century. And what happened in Germany? We all know the rape of Berlin and so on and so forth. I watched a movie called A Woman in Berlin in German. Folks, that's nothing of what I heard happen in Berlin and here and there. You just need to read Ilya Ehrenberg, who was second to Stalin. He was the prophet, and he said things nobody else dared to say uh, uh, without asking Stalin or without taking acquiring the approval of the Stalin cabal and so on. Folks, if you don't see what's coming, I don't understand what will wake you up. Two, uh, and what's coming, I mean, if it comes, right? So here, this video is not to say they're gonna do so, so they're not, but not if you stand around watching them. If you're in a government or in an establishment in Western Europe, believe me, and you're under duress, well, at least warn you people, like tell them that's what it is, and I can't do, you can't do anything, right? Just that is very important for you guys, like the entire history, the entire psychology, the entire society, the entire uh, uh, Western Europe, especially in particular those Germanics and Scandinavians, is now in question, and there's something that has planned to come and basically burn it up and incinerate it. Why? Because after their failure in Afghanistan, they realized that that allowing Germany, or even in East Germany, right, to still speak German and have German identity and so on, even though under communism, right, because they were hoping in 3, 4 more decades, the transformation will have been strong enough to completely transform that German man, at least in the East Germany, right? And then, it's going, communism, when communism was established, it was established to stay, similar to other movements, like Shiism and cryptocurrency, Obama's scare and so on. These were born, communism, folks. I'm comparing things like apples and oranges. Yes, the makers are the same. So I'm not comparing produce and product, type of produce and products and foods and so on. It's the whole farm, folks, where these things are coming out from. Folks, it's psychotic, it's evil, it can't get any worse than that. I mean, if you ever heard of bad stories and apocalypses and it's going on. It is going on. Excuse me, pomegranate juice. So anyways, so that's the plan, folks. The plan for you Germanics and Scandinavians is no different from the plans for Sunnis of Syria and Iraq and Afghanistan. And there's another example I want to give you, folks. This other example is this. If you recall Rwanda and Burundi and supposed war between the Hutus and the Tutsis, which are the two main tribes in those two countries, right? And it started with like Hutus and Burundis shooting down the airplane of the president of the other country, right? And then supposedly war erupted. Shooting down a president is no new thing, folks. They wanted to take, the Shiites and Israelis wanted to take over Pakistan, and they shut down the airplane, the civilian jetliner that was carrying General Zia, right? And he was so suspicious that he took the US ambassador with him as a passenger, yet they didn't care, they shut it down, right? Because the American ambassador was not important for them. They will sacrifice anything in order to get that particular point made, right? And that was killing of General Zia. And after him, it was Shiites, right? Pakistan became a Shiite country, you name it, right? And that's what it is, folks. That's what it is. So in Rwanda and Burundi, they entered, and the killing and the bloodletting started. Numbers have it about over a million, and I think that was during the Clinton years, and he just stood there watching. That's one of the things that intrigues me about him, because he seemed to not want to do war and things like that, but at the same time, he went to Rwanda and Burundi, right? And he didn't do anything. He just watched it, even though if he could have stopped it easily. I mean, even with air power alone. What did it take to topple Gaddafi, who's a country has like a lot of weapons and so on and so forth? Nothing, right? He could have done the same thing in Rwanda and Burundi, but that was a takeover of Israel there, and they needed to clean up or put to sleep or slaughter those undesired elements, quote unquote. Germanics and Scandinavians, that is what's coming your way. I can't emphasize on this long enough and more than to show you what it is. Now, I say this, that coming your way uh, 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 passively. What do I mean by that? If you fight, and if you're ready to fight, they will not come in, right? And they will even refrain from fighting. But remember, these guys are like predators, right? And their nature enforces on them a certain type of behavior and sustenance, right? Like a predator, a cat eats other animals, right? A wolf eats other animals, right? They don't eat grass, right? So they have it's something in them, and those cabal of Pustalinin and Lizard Eye cabal of Moscow, the Netanyahus, right? And the Nazis too, right? Not all the Germans are Nazis, remember. Some of them were just conscripts, and some of them were just like duped, because what happened to them after World War I was horrific, right? And they knew they weren't at fault, right? These Pustalinins and the brothers, let me call them the brothers, Putin, Lavrov, and their cabal, and then you got the Hitler, and then you got the Macron, and then you got Rajoy, you got the Obama, the Trump, and now the Biden, and the Netanyahu, and the Ayatollah, and the Bashar of the beast of Syria, and it's their nature, folks. Their predation is against mankind, right? That's how they grew for thousands of years. They can't no longer survive on, like we human beings, like survive on hard work and being human and so on and so forth. They can't do that, folks. They just can't. For them now to survive on human and ravish society and find, like it's their nature. So when I say coming your way, meaningly, and that's well known, they lost in Ukraine, right? And now Russia is being reconsidered and have been redefined in the psyche of mankind, right? To what it really is. And shown to what it really is in Ukraine. But these guys will not change, folks. So you relax your kicks and go become human again. You Germanics, you Scandinavians, kick back and relax and start learning and inventing and making Mercedes and BMWs and VWs, those buggies. Or Saab, or, and then bicycles, and then grow plants and trees, and then work your minds, and right? These guys are not doing the same. They have nothing to offer, right? They are thinking about how to prepare for the next attempt to come and do what they want to do and make you communist, right? Let me tell you this. I think about it in terms of history, and I see this. What does Pustalinin bring to Europe, right? Now, if Europe was a savage country, right, savage continent, and then Pustalinin was this civilized, occult and whatever religion or whatever it is, and bringing knowledge and taking people out of tyranny, and guess what? You know what? It doesn't take a genius to realize where we human beings stand, right? But this guy is not bringing that. This guy sees prosperity and something eats him, and he and his cabal, all of them. Once they see prosperity and independence, and once they see superiority in thinking, once they see inventiveness, once they see anything that is good in certain man or group of a nation, something eats them on the inside, and they just like something evil harkens with it, and they want to tear it down, like they want to tear it down and become vengeful, and not for any reason, and for them they start inventing reasons and slogans and names that are all false, such as calling the Ukrainians Nazis and calling the Syrian ISIS, right? It's just mind-boggling, folks. And you Scandinavians, so what I'm saying is, so long that cabal is in power in Moscow, that country is thinking about devouring Europe. It's like an alligator sitting in a pond, folks. It makes an attempt. If it doesn't work, it doesn't mean that's not going to eat anymore. It goes underwater, waits for the next opportunity. and then launches again, and then try to devour you again. So Europeans, you can't lay back and kick back and relax, period. So what do they bring to you? Nothing, Fox. They bring to you destruction and dementing, and these guys, I know them, Fox. If you have a book of jurisprudence of something good, they don't like it. They want you to read the books of the one-eyed monster and those, like this literature that is so psychotic. It just doesn't make sense anymore. Even to them, even philosophy is rejected, right? Everything that puts the human being into a refined, transforms humanity or a human being into a refined state, into an ethical person, into a family person, into a valuable person, something that they cannot tolerate, period. All right, point. So Fox, if you're a regime in Europe and you're under duress, warn your people, man. Just allow them to defend themselves. If you can't do anything, you cannot be part of their destruction. Just resign. Like just tell your people that you can't handle this anymore because you don't want to be part and parcel of their demise, of their downfall, of the hell that is coming their way. Point. The point I'm going to make now is there is deep-rooted hatred by the lizard-eye cabal of Moscow, right? Toward two races, and this is not being racist, toward two races. You may find that a little bit exaggerated or not, or overactive imaginations or far-flung ideas, or not even possible. People, I can assure you, they're as real as it gets, and I saw them myself. I mean, I have like so much evidence to them that anyone with their right mind who study history and the events and see what they can see what I'm talking about. Those lizard-eye cabal of Moscow and Netanyahu's and that company, they hate the Arabs and the Anglo-Saxons so much, yet they can't destroy them completely. Why? Because these people were always instigators of civilization, of knowledge, and it was the Arabs first, and then they were followed by Northwestern Europeans or Anglo-Saxons. I come from there, and as you can see, there's olive oil here, color, right? And there's butter, pasty here, right? You can see the color, right? So I am a mix of races, so I am fair. And I noticed there and here, and these people are inclusive. So when an Arab or when an Anglo-Saxon move into another nation, they're not there to enslave them or destroy them. They're there to bring them up from their predicament or their backwardness, and they bring them up into their own level, and they become to feel toward them that they're humans, right? Muslims, Arabs as Muslims proved that. And now Arabism is all those Arabs left the peninsula, and they're all over the place. They're in Europe, and they're in Asia, they're in India, they're in Africa, they're here and there. Some of the very same tribes that were there, like during the time of the Prophet, you will find them split back then, and you can trace them back by the Y gene or chromosome. Some of them are in Iran, some of them are even in northwestern Europe, many of them are in southern Europe, and some of them in Africa, some of them in India, some of them in Indonesia, some of them is in China, some of them in the stands. So they moved out, they brought knowledge to the world, and they lifted the world, right? They lifted the world. Do you remember that movie by Dennis Weaver? It's called Duel, right? Where he's driving a small car, he's the Jew. And there's that fuel truck with evil. Yeah, looking evil. Who is the fuel truck? The oil countries. That's the Arabs, right? Regardless, it's a stereotyping. It's just an ugly concept of things, right? Accuse the fuel truck of chasing poor Dennis Weaver, and eventually he ditches him and he gets him killed, right? But that's not the case. At one point, it shows you that supposedly Dennis Weaver, there is a school bus, right? The school bus is stranded, is like broken, is broke down, right? And can't go. And now Dennis Weaver pretends to have come and tried to push the school bus down. The school bus, he couldn't push it because his car is small, right? And then the that big Arab truck, oil truck, right, or fuel truck comes and tells him to step aside, and then he pushes that school bus forward. And if you look, the children in the school bus, they're like white people, I think black people, Asian people, and so on and so forth. What this point is, they're trying to be realistic, right? That Arabs came and lifted the education and knowledge in the world and pushed it, while poor poor Dennis Weaver tried and couldn't, right? He never tried because Dennis Weaver, in this instance, is post-Stalinine and his communism and Hitler and his communism and his Nazism and Netanyahu's. And they're all part and parcel of that 1984. Knowledge to them is for you, knowledge is power, right? For them, knowledge of the other is a no-no, definitely a no-no. So don't sell us that, but guess what? That's a Freudian slip about history, which we know, which history Europeans know. Europeans and Anglo-Saxons, when they inherited the Arabs and others started coming to their universities, and they didn't say no, right? They were welcoming, right? Because they followed the same example. It's in their nature. Don't look for those Arabs now in the peninsula. There are some of them there, but those old ones, they were like parts of Western Arabia, and southern Iraq, and Iraq, mainly Iraq, and parts of Syria, largely parts of Syria, Egypt as well a little bit. Those people are gone, folks. They are spread out in the world, and they are part of those races that exist in Europe and here and there. So are Europeans. Hey, guess what? Look, I got some of that too, motherfuckers. Now, which one I'm proud of? I got everything in me, I think, unfortunately, except the black race, right? Maybe I don't know. I got Asian, I got white, I got Arab, and I consider myself an Arab because I think that's where the white chromosome comes from. But I'm proud of all of them, really. We Sunni Muslims are humanistic. To us, everybody is good and probably evil, and everybody is correctable. And Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as described by the founder of the Ming Dynasty in a poem, saying that he reduced evil to one, meaningly the devil, right? He made everybody else is capable of. The first idea of looking at the other, even if it's your enemy, and thinking that he is capable of being good and guided into lightness and become and at your level and knowledge and so on and spreading knowledge, was that actually Prophet Muhammad. Everybody noticed. We know that. We go now, for example, yesterday I went to a mosque and did my Friday prayer. The Imam making the speech, believe me, I'm making this example today, it just happened yesterday, look at it. The man making the speech was an Anglo-Saxon, period, an Englishman. No, he's not like citizen naturalized. No. First, I thought he was something like me, but he looked a little bit different, like from Syria or somewhere. No. And I noticed there's no accent, right? Like mine or like those who come from my place. But then eventually he announced his name. The man has a European last name, English last name, right? And he was talking stuff that with all my research, I didn't know, right? That's how good he was, And then the speech was done by a man from Indo-Pakistan. And then there was black, right in front of me, a black man sat down, performing the prayer. And next to me, a man from India, and there's somewhere in there, somebody from Asia, and so on and so forth. Being in the United States here, you'd find like all those people, Muslim people, gather, but they're mixed. Believe me, I felt at home. I didn't think like, oh, this black man is not. Who taught me that? What taught me that? I felt at home like everybody's the same, right? Who taught me that? What taught me that? What instilled that in my spirit? It's Sunni Islam, that Prophet Muhammad, his companions, and the Quran, and the Sunnahs, and so on. And it's that, folks. Now, okay, back to our subject here in Europe. So remember, folks, what's coming your way if it comes. The plan is really to make sure that in case communism breaks down again, and they made sure that it didn't happen, because in Syria, if those Gulf Arab countries, the United States, China, and whoever it is, and Europe as well, ECB, like ECB and Federal Reserve and in US and so on, if they did not support the Russian economy and shoulder the cost of the expedition in Syria, 100%, Russia as a Russia or Federation, that bullshit, would have collapsed in Syria just like they would have collapsed in Afghanistan. Same thing in Chechnya. And you know, in Chechnya, they had to withdraw. And then the second war, they got like funding and they started killing civilians. Notice, folks, and now in Ukraine, they are getting 100% financial and intelligence support, financial support, intelligence support, moral support from all those Netanyahu's, whether in the United States and so on. They're getting paid by uh, dollars, cryptocurrency, oil, you name it, folks. They are supporting Russia tooth and nail. And then in the United States and those establishments in the West are trying to hammer down on Ukraine and trying to destroy it or allow it to capitulate to Pustanini. So that's what it is, folks, on those. So what I told you before came to be true and will come to, folks. Not unless you're sitting down on the sidewalk and watching. You may say that's your business, yes, but I'm going to warn you anyway. What will become of you if those cabal in Moscow sweep over Europe? It will be the same story as the rape of Berlin on you Germanics and Scandinavians. Israel don't like seeing you rich, don't like seeing you living in nice cities, don't like seeing you driving nice cars, making nice cars, and like thinking. They don't like seeing you thinking. They don't like seeing you reading. They don't like seeing you being free. They don't like seeing you. To them, it eats them on the inside, right, folks? And that's it. They will come and make sure that they completely sever your thinking system, and if whatever is left of you, because now it's communism, right? Raising the communist flag, and the slogan is not denazification. That's it, folks. They will so destroy you. My thinking is the plan is to remove many of you and take them to Siberia and repopulate Russia and so on, because you're smart people, you know how to think, computers and math and so on and so forth. And you got good genetics, right? And whoever's left there, they will make sure that I am almost certain they will make sure you don't even speak German anymore. That's their plan, folks. That's their plan. They will not succeed. But again, I will repeat, not if you stand on the sidewalk as if you're watching a military parade. Don't trust those establishments, not the United States, not NATO, not EU, not ECB. No, don't trust those, folks. Don't trust those establishments in there, because they are going to get you. Right now, NATO, EU, ECB, US, blah, blah, China, and even Japan, there's evidence that Japan is pushing some stuff, right, to push that in. And that's the umbrella of Israel, right? They will never change that strategy and those evil intentions, that the intentions and the plan, that plot that they have against you. That's how they live, folks. They're highly developed into a specialized predator or cannibal type creatures. That's it. That's how they are. We've seen them in Syria. You will not be treated different from Syria. What happened in Syria will happen to you, Germanics and Scandinavians. And I pray it won't happen, and it won't happen so long you stand up for yourself. You have to fight, right? And but guess what? And you saw the proof in Ukraine. Ukraine is a big proof that that's what they plan on doing. That's it. Point. I'm going to revisit cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency, so there now, and has been for a long while, ever since the Dust Bowl 1929, the Great Depression, right? It started much before that, of course, but then that's when the first salvo, was fired by those Netanyahus against the world, right? And there has been a financial apocalypse in the making. You're distracted, you're diverted, you don't see it, but it's happening. And it has intensified lately. The theft of trillions, folks, is happening on a daily basis. Whether you're on your account, whether you're German, whether you're American, whether whatever it is, right? There's theft of your life and your future and your past. Oh, is happening. And I told you that. And I told you that, right? I told you that. So cryptocurrency. Suppose you had purchased bonds, right? Government bonds from U.S. government or German or whoever it is, and at one point they force the, and it's not going to happen. But not unless everybody is sitting and watching, right? And then if everybody is sitting and watching, it will be useless, right? I mean, even the cryptocurrency will be useless. And they convert your investment into a cryptocurrency, right? Now, whatever you bought in dollars and you're living off it with interest rate, which I don't believe in, I believe it's forbidden, right? And I never practice it. Take or give. Someone you guys know was using the same approach as we Muslims do. Alistair Cook, he never dealt with interest rate, or his bank was without all that interest, usury, and so on. But then back to the point. If that is converted, you know what cryptocurrency is. It's controlled per unit. The so fine-grained control that they can nullify one unit, or they can nullify a group of units, because it's a hierarchical thing, right? Oh, they can prune it very quickly, folks. They can make one person penniless. They can make a nation penniless. They can make a group of people penniless, or a club, or a business, no matter what you are. How big or how small or how inclusive, or well, whatever it is, the aspect of you as a member of society or establishment or foundation. Oh, they can nullify all that. And then next day you wake up and then you couldn't even afford your food. Can they do that? With cryptocurrency, they can. Look what they've done in the Depression in 1929, when they crashed the stock market intentionally. Some people woke up and they couldn't even afford food, right? So that's point. And if you had invested in government bonds and they convert that into cryptocurrency, next day it's either it's nullified, or you know how it is on the stock market. The value rises and the value drops, right? Well, what if they drop the whole thing, right? Just think about it, folks. Ask your economist, but the economist, to tell you the truth, should be your relative, right? Or someone you really trust. So, and now Russia is being supported by it. Hezbollah and Ayatollahs and Bashar of Syria and so on. All those are being ISIS and Al Qaeda, and they're all supported by this cryptocurrency. Bitcoin in particular. Bitcoin, that's the cryptocurrency of Israel, called BUTT coin. Ask Netanyahu, he'll tell you. Netanyahu's and his brother, his brother Ben Eid. So that's what it is, folks. That's cryptocurrency. I can go on and on and on and on. Money laundering, you name it, finance of terrorist organizations, you name it, folks. I can go on and on. If you are duped into making a couple of dollars now of it, then don't have children, folks, because if this currency becomes the norm and it's the mother of all evil, right? Then your children and your posterity as a person, as a family, or as a nation will suffer. Basically, will bear the consequences of your negligence and passiveness and complicity by bringing this evil to the world. Resist, folks. They will throw you a bait. Resist. Resist, folks. If you don't believe in conspiracies, now is the time to believe in conspiracies. That 1948, 1984? Well, it's really 1948. Well, you know what that is, right? Plus 36 equals 1984.
36, you know what that is, right? I think it means like three sixes, or you know the rest. I'm not one of those, so I can't say. so, so in that case, be careful of that cryptocurrency, folks. This, this, folks, this, folks, will make your society one of two, go to one of two directions. Either put in a cage, like that of chickens and so on, as they feed them a little bit in preparation for the slaughter, or they will throw you out in the jungle, right? You will have to live one of the two lives. If post-Stalinine, if, and that's a big if, sweeps over Europe, the future holds two things for you. It's incendiary, right? The future is incendiary. One um, is either you live like in the jungle, you know, your life will be something like in the jungle, or no ethics, no right and wrong. No, it'll be, folks, it'll be something awful. Or you'll be in a cage, right? And there are, you know, the concept of it is nothing short of 1984, folks. You know how they live in slums and so on. It's just look at Winston and the slave, and that's every European citizen, every Arab, every Muslim, every Christian, right? Will be made a slave, not bought, like that of Winston. Did you know how Winston? Did you see how Winston was? He didn't like rats when he was in that room, rented that room, so they knew he hates rats, so they bring him rats, right? To scare him with rats, you know, that Richard Burton and that the right hand of the big brother and so on. And eventually he comes to love that Netanyahu-looking creature, right? He calls him, you know, he loves him. You see what I'm saying, folks? You may think you're already there, that you skipped that horror of training in World War One and World War Two. No, 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 no. Remember, in the cafe, there were three guys in that 1984. One was a Scandinavian name and one was a German name, I think. I forgot their names, those three guys, who supposedly have been through what Winston had been through, right? And they disappeared. Go read that novel, folks. Oh, that's prophetic, folks. He was writing a manual for what's going to happen in Europe, and it was supposed to start happening now, but it isn't going to happen, right? Go read it, folks. Those three other guys, not Winston's, who sat down together in the cafe, but they were like a little bit peculiar. One of them had, I remember, a Scandinavian name. The first training was not good enough, and they were taken and disappeared, basically. You Germans, you Germanics, you Scandinavians, oh, you're a target, man. And the consideration toward you is not 1 inch, not 1 iota different from the consideration of the Sunnis of Syria and the Sunnis of Iraq and the Sunnis of Afghanistan and the Sunnis of Burundi and Rwanda and here and there. Not 1 iota different, folks. Slowly but surely, that 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 disease is devouring the living human beings and basically making nothing out of them and destroying them and killing the rest and so on and so forth. You can see it in Syria. You can see it in Iraq. You can see it in Africa, Rwanda, and Burundi, and Somalia, and you can see it in Yemen. You can see it in Afghanistan. You can see it. Not just that, they always prepare something called Nazism, ISIS, and Qaeda in order to have like to present an excuse because they're not attacking you because they want you, you know, like in their bag, right? Or in their kennel or whatever it is, or they want to kill you because who you are, but because you're a Nazi. So repeat after me. You're a European, white European, you're a Nazi. You're Syrian Sunnis or Sunni, you're an ISIS, right? Now, just think about it, folks. Now I want to go divert a little bit. Point. In World War II, and America in World War II, America as we know it now is 70% whites, right? No Anglo-Saxons, not precisely English or Scottish or Germanic or Irish. You know, like there are some trends here and there. Like for example, the Appalachians, they're Scotsmen. The Minnesota, they say they're Vikings, you know, and But whites are of this heritage. 80% of white America claims German heritage. So the German heritage in America is the most, right? Now, these are not like Germans, right? Because in them you'll find the Irish, you'll find the English, you'll find, so it's a little bit mixed up, not 100%, but it can be detected and seen that 80% of Germans were actually white America is Irish. Now, not counting, the olive color, the olive color, that dark, I used to have a black shiny hair. Now I dye my hair. Uh, but there are those of whites, the Italians, the Spanish, the Eastern Europeans, the French, les François, Macron, Maurice. So, so these are not counted. But let's say the other Anglo-Saxons, real Anglo-Saxons, that's Scandinavians, Germanics, Dutch, English, Scots, Irish. These are about 60%, I would say, maybe 70% of the US. No, 60%, I would say. Maybe between 50 and 60%, closer to 60%. Now, 80% of those claim German heritage. That meaning they descended from German blood, right? German stock. And next to them are the Irish, right? And the rest are mixed up and so on. Scandinavians and so on. Here's the thing. In World War II, those people who's got 80% of them German heritage went into the Western theater and Southern theater of Europe in World War II. And World War I for that matter, I think. And it was German killing German. First question I'd ask, for what and for whom? Two, these Americans, white Americans, were there because they were taught and indoctrinated that they were fighting tyranny called Nazism. And this Nazism is killing Jews, right? Is murdering Jews and so on. And that's why they went there. And they started killing their own kind, right? In the West, in the South, and in the West, and in Africa as well, right? Like in North Africa, you remember the Rommel and so on. And it was German killing German, right? Or Anglo-Saxon killing Anglo-Saxon. Not because of anything, but because of this Nazism, that horror of Nazism, right? And that's, if you believe the whole entire story and its elements and tenets and whatever it is, that's a noble thing, right? Americans were fighting their own people, their own kind, their own race, because what? Because they are fighting for what's good and what's right, right? Nobody can argue that point. Not Jews, not Anglo-Saxons, not Arabs, not Chinese. Nobody can argue that. Why Americans went to Europe is, I'm talking about the American soldier, the white American soldier, is because they were fighting tyranny and they want to remove Nazism, right? Not all of them, okay, not all of them, but that's the really why Americans went there. The white American, that's why white American as a person went there. Fighting for country and so on and so forth. Yes, but it was, had they been, and they're now later on they're accused now, white people in America, they're unprivileged, they're isolated, their wealth is being transferred and taken, their future is burdened with debts for thousands of years on trillions and so on, by non-whites, right, or of whites, and so on, sugary kind, right, and every day on the TV they're being accused of white racism, of racial superiority, and they're accused of all kind of things, right? Sure, there are quite few here and there, there are thousands probably, who are on the fringe of society. Not just that, they're dubious, right? I don't think they're whites. I've seen some of those. Oh, they're not whites. And their life is becoming hell. They send them to wars in the Middle East here and there and so on to spread the rule of Israel. And they come back here in the thousands with PTSD syndrome, and homeless, and committing suicides and so on and so forth, while the country, I heard like a few years back, at least 30,000 Iraq veterans and so on are homeless in the United States, while those investors, oligarchs and Netanyahu's and so on, are stealing trillions a day, right? That's life. That's what you become, European. You will become, you will be purified, similar to the Sunni Syrians. You will be taken out, right? And whatever is left will be just like those poor Americans who go fight in Iraq and Vietnam, Syria, and so on, in order to fix Israel's rule in there with some weird, demented despots like Bashar, the Beast, and Ayatollahs and Putin, and so on and so forth. All right, point. So that's the reward for white America fighting against Nazism, right? They can't accuse them of being Nazis. Why? Because they went and fought against Nazis. But they can accuse them of being white racist, white supremacist, hateful, and now they're being destroyed. White America is being destroyed systematically, folks. I see it myself every day. Not just them, blacks. Let's take Obama. Stick him up, motherfuckers. You know, like Obama despises blacks, and his folks, the tribe that he thinks he belongs to, he despises him too. So there's like a chain of despise going from there. From there, it's like hierarchy, right? One despises the other one sucks up to him, and then the other one despises the other, and the other one sucks up to the upper one. Oh man, it's a chain of despise and suck ups, right? Despise down, suck up up. Who's way up there? Well, you know it. That's the Kissinger, and that's the Netanyahu's, and so on and so forth. Well, guess what? You take it or leave it. That's what it is, right? That hierarchy, that world, that's how it is. Let me not talk too much about this Obama and his Obama scare, which is killing America by siphoning off trillions every year for something that nobody uses or knows about, right? Black folks were deceived. Black folks were deceived, right? Black folks were deceived. They thought this was their savior. Oh, he despises them. He doesn't consider himself black, as a matter of fact. It's that dogma that he bears in his ugly soul, you know, like soul of skunk. If you look at the state of the blacks before Obama, it is much better. It's very bad, folks, but it's much better than the state of blacks after Obama. I'm not making this up. You go check it out and see. They have guards, you know, all the movements, BLM, civil rights movements, Rainbow Bush Coalition, all these, and those guards, those dog guards, like the Jackson, like the Louis Farrakhan, the Obama, like the Sharpton, like all those guys, folks, they're the keepers. They're the guards of that dungeon that is called Black America, which lives in the basement, right? They make money on them, they keep them down because they despise them, right? Because they're not blacks. One of them, I remember, Alan Keyes in a debate with someone. He slept and he spaced out, and he says that he wakes up every day, looks in the mirror, and knows that he's black, he's not going to change, right? And to him, that was a moment of sorrow that he has black color. That very same people used to advocate the destruction of the Palestinians and that sending them out to Transjordan and so on and so forth. He's like, his life and thought and thinking and so on is dedicated to the destruction of the Palestinians, right? And he doesn't give a shit about his black people who are living for 500 years now in hell in America here as well. In America. Black folks, they're still slaves. Not just slaves, their masters no longer responsible for their well-beings. You know, if the black families, mothers, their families are destroyed totally, almost totally. And the mothers live off like food stamps and milk and so on that provided by the government. One day there was Guy Bundy in the West who said that black Americans were better off under slavery than they are now. Oh, there all hell broke loose against him. He's right. when they were in direct slavery, they had guarantees like house on the farm and so on and so forth. They lived on the farm, right? They didn't have to go and deal drugs and kill each other and lose the family and so on. Now they're still slaves, but there's no longer provisions for them, right? They live in slums and ghettos and killing and murder and drugs and so on. And their leaders, right? Their leaders, they're capitalizing on them because they don't consider them as part of, don't consider themselves as part of this. Oh, those low quality bunch I just mentioned. All right, point. So that's Black America. That's the plan was for Sunni Syrians. And look at them, and Iraqis and Afghan and you Germanics and Scandinavians. Your future is not as good. No, the only thing you will get is some of your men may be desirable for their genetic makeup and quality and intelligence and so on, and you will become like fathers for their children and so on, who will become demented like they are. They will grow up among them. All right, point. There is a total, the West now and the entire polity of Israel, that's of United States, EU, NATO, Chinese, Xi Jinping, pronounced easier than Xi Jinping, Xi Jinping, right? They're scrambling to save Russia because Russia is about to collapse in Ukraine, folks. Russia was always the house of cards, right? Or the very large thing that whose foundation is basically rusted out and was standing on a hair width. So I will say Ukraine is the straw that broke the camel's back or the bear's back. That's funny, right? You know what that is? The Arab used to say this about people who are not real, right? Or if they're way overloaded and then very little load will basically do the work. So that's what it is. So the West is scrambling and under Israel financially and technologically, and you name it, they're scrambling to save Russia from collapse in Ukraine. Period. If you remember, the ruble went up or went down all the way to like over 160 per dollar, and then now it's recovered. How did it recover? Guess what? Oh, your Western allies, supposed allies that are liars, and the Arab Gulf countries and Shinkies and Japan now there's a question and there's evidence that they're supporting Pustalini with dollars, right? Are in fact supporting them and scrambling to save them from collapse. That's why you get Kissinger and you get like not Hollande or Sarkozy. What's that guy's name? Macron and Scholz and others who want to end this calamitous thing on Russia's behalf, and they want to face save situation for them by giving them some Ukraine territory, right? So that's that. So the reward for white America is that after they attacked Nazis and were very instrumental in this destruction, is that they're white racist and so on, and they're being destroyed systematically. What Arabs brought to the world under Islam, of course, the umbrella of Islam, and what Anglo-Saxons, when they inherited them, did allow, not as much, but offered the world as well, at least the continuation, is equality and sharing, right? Arabs were major sharers, right? I mean, they shared everything. To them, it was getting closer to Allah by giving knowledge to others and so on and so forth. What Pustalini brings you and his Netanyahu is the concept of peril before the swine. They won't do that concept and that dogma, that ugly dogma, peril before the swine, right? They're giving peril to the swine, and that's waste of time, right? That's what Pustalini brings to you. He and his Kissinger and so on. Oh, that's it, folks. He and Lavrov and their brother Kissinger. Their brother Kissinger. Remember them talking about Hitler? And now Kissinger and Rabbi Macron and so on
being their brothers, that's proven. Right now, you got billionaires being born every day, right? I mean, how do you get billions, right? I mean, last I looked, the entire US government budget, when it was healthy, a year was like 1.2 trillion. That's during the Clinton years, I think. So how is it that when many manufacturing companies, when department stores, when are closing down and they hardly make money, they're losing money actually. And you got like one person suddenly becomes like super billionaire or billion. How do you get the money, man? Oh, investment by who? Oh, folks. Do you remember Obama giving a company called Solindra, like solar panels and so on? I don't know what they do. $500 billion. I'm not making this up. Go watch the debates between him and Romney. Romney brought this up, actually. He said, you gave Solindra $500 billion. Where is this money, folks? No, nobody knows. What does the company do? Well, its executives are a little bit fat. So they go out and absorb a lot of heat, hence bringing down the temperature, greenhouse effect from the atmosphere. And they get $500 billion. And you fuck students, Americans, whether you're European or American, and blacks and whatnot too, you had to spend like in that pandemic, quote unquote pandemic, right? You had to spend your own savings, and that was not much in order to continue living and feed your children and so on and so forth. I have seen horror, financial horror taking place, folks. The manipulation and the theft and so on is horrific, folks. Horrific. That ravenous appetite of those investors on the stock markets and here and there, and they have now governments in their pockets, right? They tell the governments and they sign executive orders and so on, they forward money to them. That's going to do much in their hands. First, they will be accounted for it. Oh no, not one penny, right? 2, it's illegitimate. 3, it's illegal. 4, if the entire society doesn't have money and they only have the money is worthless, right? You will come to see all they do eventually will come to across history. While they were able to cause a lot of harm and damage and so on, and murder and maim and so on, and impoverishment and then pandemics and so on, eventually they come and collapse after. Similar to a leech, right? When a leech keeps sucking blood until it's so bloated it can't hang onto the skin and just falls off and dies, I think. Notice how they're also extorting the Gulf countries. Now, sometimes it appears as extortion. The Mnuchin or Mnuchin and the Kushner. They're getting billions, folks, privately. What do they do with it? I don't know. They go visit there and threaten those guys, poor guys. Suckers. I don't know. I think their relationship, their relatives. I think they're relatives. But there is a small chance that they are being extorted. Europeans, all I'm trying to do is tell you 2 things. One, if you fight now, you will avoid and avert this calamitous, incendiary future. What's coming your way is very bad, folks, if it comes. Not if you wait around, right, and do nothing. And your establishment, if they can't help you, if they cannot intervene, they should at least warn you of the danger, what's impending danger. And 2, if they come to your countries, you Germanics and Scandinavians, you may think this is far-fetched. You saw I said these about Ukraine before, and now you see its effects. Like cities are being erased and so on, and murder of civilians. And this is, by the way, murdering of civilians is a ritual, is a worship. That dogmatic thing of lizard-eye cabal in Moscow. And last but not least, know this: you have to be hyper vigilant. Meaningly, so long that cabal is in Moscow,
Their plan is to come like a predator against prey. Their plan is to come and sweep over Europe and take it over and basically erase it. Communism is not dead, folks. It is burning on the inside of those lizards in Moscow and here and there and the Netanyahu's. It's burning. It's really killing them, and they have to satisfy that urge, folks. Something deep lives deep in Putin's and Lavrov's soul, and so on and so forth. Those who accused Hitler of being Jew, now they're being brothered by Jews like Kissinger, supported and brothered by Jews like Kissinger, like Macron, like Scholz, like whoever it is. Just think about it, folks. That proves that they are too. Why were they saying that? It's because they want to stir up the hatred among the Russians towards Ukraine, that these Ukrainian Nazis, Jews, right? They attacked you under communism in Russia, and now time for you to take revenge. They don't know that Russians know what's going on, and now they see that communism is still burning. Continuation, it's like a string from Lenin, Marx, and Lenin, and now before them, this is not a new thing. All the way to Putin and Lavrov, those brothers of Hitler. Have a nice day, my friends. And I keep talking about this. I hope you wake up, no matter who you are. If there's 1 ounce of conscience in you that you belong to a free people, like free Germany and free Scandinavia and free Sunni and so on. Just if you can't do much about it, if you're tied down, if you're under duress, if you can't talk, just allow people to defend themselves. They will and they can. Have a nice day, my friends. Talk to you later.